This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. They have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. They just opened up a 3rd location at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. No appointment is necessary. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome to episode 278 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Shelley.
Today on the podcast, we sit down and chat with local Salt Lake City tattoo artist Clint McInnes. We find out his story and what got him interested in becoming a tattoo artist. We also find out what drives him as an individual and why he likes tattooing here in Salt Lake City.
He made some really great points. Like, he had some interesting things to say that I think everybody's going to enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the dialogue that you and him got, because I know you're not as experienced in the tattoo scene as myself is.
I'm here for the people like me who don't know anything.
And we're going to get into that in the conversation here with Clint in just a minute, so hang tight. Many thanks to everyone who made it out to our wedding celebration yesterday. We're actually pre-recording this in advance because we knew we wouldn't have a chance to do this during the wedding, during our honeymoon and whatnot.
So we're assuming you came and it was awesome.
Oh my gosh, what a fun day. What a fun day, Chrissy. We're going to get into more of that probably in June. Let's plan on our episode in June. When we intro the podcast, we'll share a little bit about our wedding experience.
I'm sure it's going to be the best ever, right?
So, absolutely. So many thanks to everybody who made it out to that. If you've never been to our website, check it out, iamsaltlake.com. This is where you can go and listen to the entire back catalog of episodes. There's links to subscribe, contact information, and even information on how you can become a supporter and support the podcast.
You can support us, get a sticker, get a koozie.
Absolutely. So head on over to iamsaltlake.com. This episode is also sponsored by Oleo Skin and Beard. If you're like us, your skin is dry. If you're like me, your beard is dry. You need to moisturize. Oleo Skin and Beard carries an amazing line of skin oils, beard butters for moisturizing and shaping the beard, even some great facial cleansers.
Amazing. And the kelp and clay mask, my daughter was just telling me today she was experimenting last night with it, and she started using makeup brushes to paint it on. I'm going to go try that tonight.
Oleoskin.com is their website. Use the promo code IAMSaltLake. It's all one word, IAMSaltLake. It's going to give you 25% off of your entire purchase. And guess what? Oleo's going to be at this year's Downtown Farmers Market. So that's exciting.
I am so stoked.
Starting Saturday, June 10th, right in downtown at Pioneer Park. So you're going to want to make sure to check that out sometime this summer. All right, let's jump into that conversation that we had with Clint McInnes as he shares his story and talks about being a tattoo artist here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Enjoy. So I like to even kind of go back a little bit and kind of find out, where's home? Where did you grow up?
Actually, born and raised in Tooele. I was not born there, but raised there.
Your whole life?
Yep. I was born in Monticello, super small town just outside of Moab. Really small. But my mom is originally from Tooele, and she moved back with her parents pretty close to after I was born.
Okay.
So born and raised on a farm in Tooele.
Really? What kind of farm was it?
We raised cattle, beef. So
did you ever name the cattle?
We did, but we learned not to real quick.
Well, yeah, because then you would have to be like,
unless
there's
you name
dinner.
it there's T-bone.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know what kind of steaks there
So
are.
we would go out and name the calves during calving season.
Yeah.
And especially the ones that the mom passed away or the mom wouldn't take. We grew up literally with calves in our basement.
Oh, wow. You'd actually kind of nurture them and mother them?
Yeah. Calving season is in the winter. So when they, like, you're just barely coming to the end part of winter, so it's still pretty brutal outside.
Oh, wow.
My grandpa would pull them home and have them, like, in the laundry room. We've got this baby cow.
Did you ever actually help physically birth a cow?
Yeah, I've had my arms
I
in
did.
there.
I didn't do that, but I helped my uncle on his dairy farm birth a calf, and I was like,
You learn to get all up in there.
So if you're still out that way, do you still have a farm out there?
My family still has property, and we still have a few cows. We don't necessarily have near the volume that we did at one time. At one time, we were probably 400 to 450 head.
Okay, so you were serious.
Yeah.
You weren't just playing around. Did you want, like, growing up, is that kind of what you wanted to get into was farming, though?
No. I think, like with anybody, you don't want to be anything to do with your parents. Like, you want to be away from that.
Be your own person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, even out there working on the farm, I was always like, oh, I want to be doing this. This isn't, like, doing anything for me. I need to be out of here. Like, this isn't where I'm at.
What did you want to be? What were you, like a policeman, fireman?
No, I think, like, growing up, the only thing that stayed constant in my life was art. Everything else, like, changed around. There was, I mean, we all go through our little phases of, like, oh, I'm going to be a professional skateboarder. Or, oh, I'm going to be a pro biker or whatever.
But it was always art.
Yeah, art was just always there. One way or another, I was drawing. My mom kept me, even through summers, she would put me in art classes, like, during the summer.
So she was really supportive of, like, your love of art.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She definitely pushed me, not in directions I wanted to be pushed. She would always try and get me to paint, and I hated painting. Like, I didn't want anything to do with color. I just wanted a pencil in my hand, and that's it.
Like, what kind of stuff were you drawing? Like
comics. I was huge on comics when I was little. Grew up drawing every Marvel character known to man, and then some, and that kept me really involved because I just liked the art of them, so vivid, and just kept my interest really well all the way through high school even.
Was that tough being out in Tooele, though? Like, because I'm sure growing up, I mean, however, I don't know how old you are, it doesn't matter, but you're kind of, it's a little more
it's kind of
sparse.
tucked away.
Yeah, it's tucked away. So you're not like in a city, so you're not exposed to comic books and all the art stuff that maybe you were if you were in Salt Lake, right?
Yeah. And even as far as, like, the culture around you, when you're growing up, when I was growing up, it wasn't cool to be in comics. So as soon as, like, junior high hit, I was like, no, I don't like comics. And then I'd go home and read comics.
I think it was that way for all of us, though, because like now you know people in their 30s and stuff.
We're all finally coming out.
We're coming out, and so they have all these comic book movies coming out, you know.
Yeah,
and so I think it makes it a lot more acceptable to be a nerd.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's so much cooler to be a nerd. If you would have went to Comic-Con 15 years ago,
you would have got beaten up.
You would have got beaten up in line. And now
you guys were supposed to be doing the
people
rodeo.
that aren't going.
Yeah,
we're like,
and why aren't you wearing a costume while you're going? Like, you're just going
Revenge
dressed
of the
as you?
Nerds.
Come on, it is.
It totally is. Yeah,
we're grown up and we've gotten jobs and we have more money to spend, and that's now a bigger industry.
So let's fast forward a little bit to tattooing, which you're doing today. Well, not right now, not while we're sitting
not at
here.
the moment.
No.
Even though that would have been cool. We chatted about that, which I think would be really cool to tattoo while we're
not you're pregnant.
While we're
when
interviewing.
When I'm all done growing a human.
Well, you know, I want to get my wedding band tattooed on my finger because we're getting married here.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. You'd probably talk me out of something like that. But anyway.
I wonder how much that would hurt because it's very bony.
I don't know.
Isn't it?
The fingers.
Finger would
so
hurt?
I don't have fingers or hands, but the fingers are usually open really, like they're over really quick. So nobody it's not
you don't have
painful
time to
enough
scream?
that nobody really cares.
Huh.
But how long have you been tattooing? What's your tattoo story like? Where should we start there?
How did you even get interested in it?
So along with art, when I was growing up, like I would see people with tattoos. I grew up LDS, actually. I would see people with tattoos, and it was a very, like, you can't do that when you're LDS. So I just kind of stayed away from it. I looked at it, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I really like that. But, you know, then there's church. So I can't do that. So I stayed away from it. Grew up, got married in the temple, did a really, like, churchy life. And just kind of not one day, but over the course of several years kind of just was like, no, this life isn't for me. So when I went and got divorced, I was like, I'm going to try a little bit more of life. I'm going to get out and experience life a little bit. Went and got my first tattoo, and out of kind of an arrogance thing.
What was your first tattoo?
It's a old hot rod symbol from the 50s.
At least so it's something
nice.
cool, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people get really
very big
stupid.
I was
cars.
waiting for some sacrilegious thing just to like, stick it to the man.
There's an upside down cross on my forehead. No. But yeah, it was a hot rod symbol from the 50s. I've always been really big into cars, especially from that era, the 30s through the 50s. I love it. Went and got this symbol and just kind of fell in love with it. Not even necessarily that tattoo, but fell in love with the whole process of it, putting art on somebody's body. And I was hooked immediately, like set up time for another tattoo. It took probably a year before I was kind of like, yeah, I want to do tattoos.
Because you already had a history with the art, so it made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't, and to be honest, you can't make all that much money at art. It's like being a professional sports star.
Sure.
You can be great, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be in the NBA. You can be amazing, but that doesn't mean you're going to make $1 at it.
So were you selling your art at all before you got into tattooing, or what were you doing? What was your profession?
So I worked at Kennecott for about 9 years at the smelter.
Oh, wow.
I've always worked with my hands, fixed stuff. I worked in auto body. I was a machinist, and then went to Kennecott. And I'd been there for probably 3 or 4 years before I started tattooing. And then once I started tattooing, I was like, this is a means to an end. This is what I want to do. I don't want to be working for anybody else. I don't want to fix stuff. I mean, not that I mind fixing stuff. I love it. But I want to do art on people. And I want to make my own schedule. And I want to be me. And gives me a little more opportunity to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're just creating things and helping people express themselves. That's got to feel a lot better than just like staring at machines.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a part. Go put that back on.
Yeah,
And,
pretty much.
Yeah.
So where are you tattooing now then?
I actually work at Salt City Tattoo.
Where for people listening, the address, the location. Where?
It's 353 East, 200 South. It's right next to Twilight Lounge, and the original Crown Burgers right there too.
Is it up? It's upstairs there,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
behind the. They're kind of new there, isn't it? Kind of a new.
We're newer in that spot.
Okay.
We were down on 800 South by the Sears.
Wasn't that the location? Correct me if I'm wrong, and I can always edit this out. But they did the free tattoos.
We did
those free when Trump
The free
got
cat tattoos?
Yeah, the free cat tattoos.
Oh, man, we wanted to go so bad. And we were like, should we take
Yeah.
the whole day off work?
Bag that. So we had people show up at like 8 in the morning, and we weren't even opening doors until noon. People show up super early. It was a crazy amount. It was like 900 people in line.
Yeah, it was just
And
crazy.
we only ended up tattooing like 148 people. And I tattooed.
You gonna offer free kitten tattoos? That's going to happen.
Yeah. And I tattooed the last 2 people that we tattooed for that day, and they got there at 10:30 that morning and had been there since then. And I tattooed them at 9 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
Just I'd rather pay for a tattoo.
Yeah.
Hopefully, people were tipping pretty good that day.
We raised a good amount of money for the Rape Recovery Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it was a cause. Wasn't it Sarah Diaz-Avedo that kind of put that together?
Yep. Yeah. She came over and worked with us for probably about 2 months.
Okay.
That was about a week into her working with us. She'd asked us to do that. So that was like my first time meeting her, and I was like, yeah, I guess let's do this.
Yeah.
Down to help out a cause.
Well, that's a great location for a tattoo shop.
Yeah, we love it.
So how long have you been there? You might have mentioned before.
At Salt City?
Yeah, Salt City.
I've been at Salt City since January of 2016, so just over a year now.
Just over. And were you tattooing anywhere else before then, or
Yeah.
what?
I was tattooing in Tooele at
Okay.
Sink or Swim Inc.
Okay.
And I actually tattoo out there 1 day a week right now, just to kind of keep my Tooele clientele happy and still get some of them back in. And but yeah, the majority of my work is all at Salt City, and I've grown a ton since I've been there. So
So how does that work to become a tattoo artist? Like you have to get an apprenticeship, right?
yeah.
I mean, is that always the case with becoming a tattoo artist?
Not necessarily always. That's the preferred way. You can't really gain a whole lot of respect if you don't, just because it's something that it's unlike anything else. You're not going to learn it from a YouTube tutorial. You're not going to learn it you will learn it by going and drawing on your friends and messing up their skin, but it is so intensive on every single level when you first start, and even now. But when you first start learning, there's so many different types of equipment to use. There's so many different types of skin, even going from the middle of your forearm to the ditch area of your arm is 100% different skin, and it has to be treated differently. So having somebody on your shoulder and telling you, this is what you need to do during that, and this is why this happened when you did this, and that's why that didn't work out, and this is why this person is not happy with their stuff, and so on and so forth.
So you kind of learn all that through your apprenticeship, and
you
whatnot.
would in a good apprenticeship. Yeah, they would teach you every bit of that.
Who did you apprentice with? Can you talk about that?
I'd rather not.
Okay, no, that's
my apprenticeship was not good. I was basically handed equipment and said, "Here,
really?
go and do it." Yeah, and I paid quite a bit of money for an apprenticeship, which isn't necessarily usual, but it's not unusual either. But not knowing anything about the industry and just trying to get into it, some people are out there to kind of take advantage. You still just had to
teach yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I did a lot of trial and error. It was kind of like learning totally on my own.
Is it tough to get an apprenticeship? Or, I guess
it is.
Through the right people,
yes.
It is.
It's tough regardless. Yeah, through the right people, it's definitely tough. You want to go through the right outlets. You don't want to just go to anybody. And that's the problem, is a lot of people are just going to anybody and getting an apprenticeship and calling themselves a tattooer. The industry's super saturated right now.
Well, here in Salt Lake, especially. My God,
yeah. Salt Lake is super saturated.
And there's not a lot of we had Dustin and Tara from Enso Piercing. I don't know if you know them. They were on the podcast recently, and there's not a lot of I would have thought the city would they crack down on everything else in this city.
Yeah,
but there's not a lot of laws and stuff.
No, they come in and look at walk quickly through your shop, and they're like, all right.
Because I was living out in Pennsylvania back in I think it was the late 90s, and I remember Massachusetts, it was illegal to get a tattoo.
Yeah.
In the 90s. It was
really?
It was
New York, same way.
Yeah, there was a lot of states.
Just because of health codes?
I'm not sure exactly why.
So what it was is back during the early days of tattooing, when it was just sailors and military guys and bikers and stuff that were getting tattooed. So all the way through the 40s through the 60s.
Yeah.
They're doing these tattoos, and we didn't know about bloodborne pathogens like we do today.
Right.
So the health practices, they're spreading every disease nameable, because they're tattooing military men who have been overseas, and they're tattooing bikers who aren't necessarily the cleanest of people as far as, weren't back then.
Yeah.
Don't come and beat me up, bikers. I'm sorry for that. Back in the 60s, not you guys today. You guys are very clean. But just the health practices.
Yeah.
They were very worried about it and very concerned, because you were getting disease left and right. So it was outlawed in a lot of places.
But I was surprised, at that time. I was like, well, in Utah, we were legal. And even back then, back in the 90s, we had some of the best tattoo artists around. Mm-hmm. People would fly here from all over to get tattooed by some of the artists from Salt Lake City.
And they still do, don't they?
They still
do. Great place.
They still do.
There's a handful of artists here that are booked a year out, and they have clients from all over the world. They go all over the world and tattoo. That's what I'm aspiring to.
Well, I was gonna mention. You're the only the second tattoo artist that we've had on the podcast.
Okay,
we've had Vic back.
Oh,
I don't know if you know Vic.
Yeah, I know him. I'll fight him any day of the week.
Yeah.
Vic's actually a very good friend of mine.
He's actually the one who did my my arm. But he's booked out.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I actually tried to get a surprise tattoo for you for Christmas, and I emailed Vic back, and I don't think he even has enough time to see his emails.
No, he does.
No, he does. But when it's something,
he just ignored me.
No, when it's something like that, when people are like, for instance, like Vic, like, hey, can I get in this weekend? No, there's
He'll
not even a chance.
laugh
Yeah.
at you.
I had a guy
Well, it makes sense.
hit me up today, and he said, well, how far out are you booked? And I'm only booked about 2 weeks. And I told him, and he's like, oh, okay. And that was it. And I was like, are you trying to get in? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, okay, so do you want to set something up? And he's like, well, I'll just call you in 2 weeks. Well, that's not how
You
it
kinda
works.
have
I'm
to book
still going to
now.
be booked out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 2 weeks booked out. At that time, you're not going to just get a spot the day of. It's
Yeah.
very rare. And half the time when I don't have anything booked that day, I don't go into work because I don't want to. I go fishing.
Well, and that's the joys of being your own boss,
Really
more or
working for
less.
yourself. Yeah.
Basically what the point of what I was trying to make with you being the second person is this city is so full of amazing tattoo artists. I'd
Yeah.
love to sit down and chat with them, but so many of them are so busy.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't have time to come and sit
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
podcast. So I appreciate you coming and doing the show with us today.
I'm happy to do this show. I'm excited
this is
about it,
really
yeah.
cool, and especially with the tattoo scene here in
Oh,
Salt
yeah.
Lake City. I have a few questions. So we mentioned on Facebook, I'm sure you saw the post that we'd be sitting down and chatting with you.
Yeah, I hope you guys saw mine.
We
did.
I brought my own questions. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, hopefully you did. We'll turn the tables over here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start. I'm going to jump right into some of these questions here. Nikki, she's actually one of our listeners in New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
She wants to know the weirdest, interested in the weirdest things people want to get tattooed. I don't know. However you want to interpret that question.
I mean, you always have random people that want you to. I mean, it's not even necessarily that they want you to, but they want the wow factor of like, I want you to tattoo my genitals, and you're like, no, I'm good, thanks though.
have you ever tattooed someone's
No.
genitals? Would you tattoo my genitals?
I mean, how much money do you have?
Do I have a say in this?
What?
No.
I mean, what would? I mean,
Okay, all right,
would it
that's
just
cool.
swell up? I mean, because there's.
I mean, people do it.
Sure.
I've never done it, so I can't say. But knowing skin, yeah, it's going to swell up.
I
Sounds
just would not
excruciating.
want to mess around with that
Yeah,
area.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I don't even like getting tattoos on normal parts of my body.
Yeah, why would you
But,
do it there? Yeah. Ooh.
What has and I guess I took it a different way. I was wondering if she was thinking, are there like strange tattoos that you've kind of been caught
Always.
off guard by?
Always.
Like that you're like, really, you really want that? Are you sure?
And I'm very good about like, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't want to do
Yeah.
it. I'm very good about that. I'll refuse
Give us an
tattoos.
example.
People getting spouses' names. I'll tell you no all day long. People tattooing their hands, fingers, all of that stuff, throats, necks, all of that. I won't touch it if you aren't to a certain point with your tattoos.
Yeah, like
you run out of room.
I was talking to because it's like especially if someone goes in there and they don't have nothing on their arms.
I've had
and then all of a sudden they want them all over their
Yeah.
hands, and you're like, what are you doing?
And 9 times out of 10, it's a 18 to 23-year-old comes in, doesn't have anything on their arms, and they come in and they want to tattoo their hands. Is it my job to say, no, you can't have that on your hands? No, it's not my job. But it is my job to talk to the client and say, hey, let's look at this for a minute. Your hands, you can't cover them. Everywhere else, I'll tattoo your wrist because you can wear a long sleeve and that tattoo's gone.
It's kind of like I hate to say it, but you're too young to be making that kind of a decision for yourself.
It's not even that to me. It's really just a matter of my backbone. I don't want somebody that I tattooed their hand and they don't have a single other tattoo on their body. I don't want them to turn around in 5 years and think to themselves like, man, like I wish I wouldn't have done this because now I'm stuck working at wherever and I'm trying to better my life and I feel like this is holding me back.
But do you think tattoos are holding people back as much as they are?
Not as
like
much as they
10
were
years
15
ago. Yeah, 10, 15 years ago.
Not nearly as much as then, but I'm a tattooer. And if I put on a suit, you can't see that I have a single tattoo. And that's not for anything. Like, I know that I'll tattoo for the rest of my life. It's not to say like, oh, I need to go and get a job. It has nothing to do with that. It's a pure and simple fact of when I need to cover every single thing on my body, I can do that. And I'm a tattooer. we're like the most unrespectable people ever.
But you still have a gnarly beard, so that makes up for it.
And I'm not trying to say that there's anything against the people that have their throats or their hands or any of that stuff done. That's great. But I hope that when you did that, you thought about the whole process and thought to yourself like, oh, like this is it. This is a big step.
Do you know that really boils down to other people?
Do you know that the guy in California that did his face like a clown? Oh, Richie the barber?
No.
He shows me his pictures all the time.
I'll just show you. We're going to take a break here in a second. I'll show you a picture of him. Richie the barber. Fascinating. This guy, clown. He's a full clown.
Chris loves this guy.
Yeah, he's
and I'm like, I don't think I'd sit in a room with that dude.
I love clowns. I'm obsessed with clowns.
I don't hate clowns by any means, but I like.
You're indifferent.
Yeah.
One more question here. Before we take a break, we have to take a quick break for a message from our sponsor. But Sean Harris, he wrote, what are his biggest influences / tattooers, and how does he keep up with new skills and techniques as tattooing becomes more and more mainstream? So I guess that's a couple of questions in one.
Yeah. I do have a lot of influences in tattooing, but I actually try and look elsewhere for inspiration as far as art goes. Even in my tattoos, I try and look outside of the tattoo world. I follow a lot of painters, charcoal artists, just different mediums. And it's because when you start to look at tattoos on the scale that we look at them at, like on Instagram, I follow 1,000 tattooers and they're all amazing, just really good, all the way down to like when it comes down to just a bare bones tattoo. But when you start to look at tattoo after tattoo after tattoo, you're not getting anything new into the pipeline in your head. And you start to produce the exact same tattoos that those people are tattooing, which isn't a bad thing by any means. There's styles out there that are amazing. But the people that stick out the most to me are the ones that have looked outside of the tattoo realm for their inspiration. And so I'm trying to do the same. I don't necessarily have the skill to always back that up, but I'm trying to push it that way, and I will. But as far as keeping up on skill, it's a matter of, one, having the right influences and friends as far as people that are better than you. Don't ever be the smartest person in the room.
Always have a mentor.
That's why I brought Chrissy on to podcast, because she's a lot smarter than I am. Anyway.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, it's a matter of who you keep around you.
Sure.
Always make sure they're bettering you. It's
people
just
who
like
want
all
you
of
to
life.
grow, too, is huge.
And it's hard to be somebody that is around people that are a lot better than you and not automatically just get better the way that they are.
And it seems like you would want people who want to encourage your skill and ability, regardless of anything. Like, some people won't encourage that because they're scared you'll get good and leave. So move on or start your own thing. But those people are kind of, I would say, dangerous for your self-growth to be around.
Definitely. So the older mentality around tattooing is nobody talked to anybody and everybody hated each other in the art world, like as far as tattooing went. If you were an artist and artist B over there, he works in a different shop, you don't talk to him. You hate him. And he hates you.
Big rivalry.
For no reason. And it was because everybody, and maybe it was a little different back then as far as clientele, but everybody thought that you were going to steal all the business. Well, I have enough clients, and people like Vic Back have enough clients.
Yeah.
And we're still both surviving. Why can't we be friends again? And like I said, Vic and I are great friends. We talk really often, and I talk with a lot of the different shops around the valley. And same working out in Tooele again. I've remained friends with the guy that owns that shop ever since I left, and still talk to him all the time. So it's a matter of just, we've moved past that stage. There still are some people out there that are like, no, I'm keeping my secrets to myself. Well, the internet's a big place and the world's a really big place. So
the
one way or another, I'm going to learn. You can either help me and we can be friends and go out to dinner, or you can not help me and I'm still going to learn.
Let's take a quick break and then we're going to come back. I got another question from Sean when we get right back, so hang tight. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. They have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. They just opened up a 3rd location at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. No appointment is necessary. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information. So Sean Harris had another question, actually, that I noticed here that he asked online. It says, other than himself, who is his favorite local artist? Who would he let tattoo him?
There's actually quite a few on that list. Vic, obviously, I'd let him tattoo me. There's a couple of guys in my shop that I would let, actually any other guys in my shop, I would let them tattoo me. And that's why I work with them. Just about anybody at Good Times. And I have been tattooed by a couple of the guys over there. They've been the same way that Vic has, just super helpful. Always down to chat and to grow. They were like one of the first shops that I ever really got tattooed at outside of Tooele when I first started like trying to grow as an artist. And they've been great over there. Danny Madsen just absolutely kills the game.
He's over at Good Times, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've been following him for a little while because I think he was apprenticing a few years back and then at Good Times, and then now he's tattooing there. Yeah, he tattoos there, and he's something else. He's somebody that can transfer to so many different styles of tattoo and still just be amazing in it. Actually, that reminds me, I meant to ask you earlier in the podcast, how would you describe your style of tattoos?
I don't ever know. Yeah. So I work in a shop that does a lot of neo-traditional, which is just kind of an updated version of traditional. But I feel really comfortable doing black and gray. I can do black and gray very well and picked up on it really easy. And that was from not painting when I was a kid. Like, that was from just using a pencil. Black and gray comes really easily to me. I'm not the best at it by any means, but I can definitely get down with some of the better artists in Salt Lake. And so I do that. I don't do it a ton at the shop I'm at, just because everybody comes in after neo-traditional, because that's what everybody there does. I don't necessarily do everything, but I try and stay fairly well-rounded.
Sure.
Because I think that unless you're 15, 20 years deep in the game, if you cornhole yourself into one niche too early, I think you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot for a lot of growth in everywhere. Because when I do a black and gray tattoo, I grow on the neo-traditional in one way or another, because I'm pushing a certain boundary.
Sounds like you're kind of putting yourself out of your comfort zone
all the time,
constantly, which is really awesome for an artist. Like it helps you bring everything back into the work you're doing. Yeah.
If you're not sweating through at least like one tattoo a week, wondering like, I don't know if that's going to work out like I like it to.
Do you ever tell someone that when you're working on it?
I'm not. So the first,
you can't do that.
No, I actually did. The first portrait I ever did on someone, first black and gray portrait I ever did. I was probably like 75% of the way through done with this.
Like, whoa, the wrong picture.
No, I looked up at the girl and I said, "Do you want to hear something cool?" And she was like, "What?" And I said, "This is the first portrait I've ever done." And she was like, "What?" Oh. And she kind of had a little bit of a freak out moment.
Yeah.
Tattoo was going really well, and that's why I was okay telling her. But I didn't tell her before.
So how are you at portraits? Pretty good?
Black and gray, when it comes down to portraits, I do fairly decent. Like I said, I'm not the best in the valley. There's a couple of black and gray guys that just blow me out of the water every time they do something.
Sure.
But I can hold my own depending on what the picture is and how I can go about it.
What do you like what do you like the most about being a tattoo artist? Is there one thing that you like the most?
Yeah, it's actually what you guys do. It's sitting down face to face with people and talking. The art's kind of a byproduct. Yes, I get to do a cool piece of art and they pay me to do that, but to me to have an experience with my client and talk to them about whatever it is that's going on in their life or whatever they're dealing with that tattoo in some way. And maybe this tattoo helps them heal, makes them get through a rough spot in their life or whatever.
Do you find yourself like helping people through life transitions on a fairly often basis?
Yeah. Even to the point where I have clients when they're not getting tattooed have contacted me and they're like, hey, I'm going through some stuff. I know that you're busy, but
I just need to talk to someone.
Yeah. Same kind of thing.
You become good friends with your clients a lot of times because they come back time and time again to get, depending on if it's a big piece or a little piece, sometimes you can't get it done in one sitting, but you know how it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And my clients are some of the best people out there, and some of them go through some very hard times.
I think we all do.
Oh, for sure. A lot of
if
people
you don't, then you're lying.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you like least about being a tattoo artist?
The people.
The people.
Go right back to the people again. And it's just tattoos aren't for everybody.
Yeah.
But they're so more mainstream now that everybody wants to have them. And some people aren't necessarily cut out to go into an artist and say, hey, I want you to put this on my body. Well, there's certain aspects about art that aren't going to transfer into a tattoo. And it's hard to explain that to somebody who isn't more into tattoos. You have people that want to come in and get white ink tattoos. Well, you're not going to see it in 6 months. You're not going to see it in 2 years. Why are you going through the pain and paying for this if you're not going to see it? You have people
because it's trendy. Right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, because I'm one of those people. I don't have any tattoos.
We're going to tattoo you when you're done being pregnant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. But I've always wanted one.
Doesn't she have great skin? Like I think her skin would tattoo really well.
And I have lots of scars I need to cover. So
yeah, some people's skin just that nice fair skin.
Yeah.
Like my skin is so tanned and yucky and. Tattoos are so faded and gross.
What's the deal with white? Because I love white tattoos, but is it not like scarification where it's there permanently?
So you're looking, when people see white tattoos on the internet, they're seeing a freshly done or like maybe 1 week old tattoo, and it looks amazing.
Okay.
But your tattoos are based on contrast. You can see his tattoos because they have black on them.
Right.
If he was sitting across the table from you and had white tattoos, and they were done as far as those were done, you wouldn't see anything right now.
Wow. That's interesting. So you have to do a lot of education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of when people first started doing the white tattoos, I was like, all right, cool. Let's learn how to do this. Mm-hmm. And I did a couple on clients, and then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't working out, because they were coming back in even 2 months later, and they're like, yeah, this doesn't look like I was thinking. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, it doesn't. So in that time,
and that reflects on you as an artist.
Yeah.
When their tattoo is out and about.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of the reason that I turn that stuff down. Those are another one that I just straight up turned down. You aren't going to be happy with it in 6 months, so I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to do it. Yes, you can go down the street and get it done, but I'm going to tell you why I'm not going to do it before you leave.
Because you have walking portfolios everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them, from my earlier days, I'm not all that proud of, and I run away from.
You're like, no,
just don't tell anyone.
Fix that up.
Should have went by a different name back then. You know what I mean?
I didn't think about
a starter name until you're really comfortable.
Until
in your
you're
craft.
5 years in,
and then all of a sudden, just change your name.
Yeah,
and it's like you disappeared.
And everybody's like, "Oh, who's this new guy?
He's amazing."
If I ever get an apprentice, that's what I'm doing with him.
Well, that goes into what I was going to ask is like a piece of advice. Like, say somebody's listening, right, and they're like, "Okay, I should become a tattoo artist."
Don't.
Is that the advice you would give them?
So
I mean, you said it's saturated.
It's a saturated market, and that's not the reason that I say don't. 9 times out of 10, I tell people don't, because I don't think that people have the heart for it. And I know that sounds really weird, but there's a lot of people who get into tattooing just to be called a tattooer by their friends.
It's a cool title, man.
It is. And I won't lie. I love being called a tattooer. Mm-hmm. But that's not why I got into tattooing. I got into to be an artist. I want people to know me as an artist first and foremost, who tattoos to make his money. Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of the people who are doing well in their tattooing careers are at. They do well on canvas. They do well on paper. They do well digitally. They do well so many different areas, and they tattoo to make their money. And a lot of people that want to get into tattooing, they want to do it for the notoriety of being a tattooer. And that's okay, but it's a really, really hard job to get into if that's what you're looking for. It'll beat you up and spit you out. It's tough mentally to go out and not be 100% pleased with every piece that you send out, because you're not going to be. There's no piece that I send out the door that I'm 100% satisfied with. There's some of them that I'm satisfied for like 5 minutes, and then I'm like, oh, look at this.
You're like, wait, come back.
Look at that. And it's just stuff that I progress on and work on and know for next time. And the people that get the tattoo, they love them. And it's not that I don't love them in that regard, and I love that the people love them, but it is so mentally abusing when you are constantly so hard on yourself that this needed to be better, or you would have done that different. You don't have an eraser. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're putting out permanent work constantly, which I don't know if there's really any other artistic profession where you're doing that as much. Like, there's always a delete key or an eraser else, or paint you can paint over. And
I'm learning that with paint. Like I said, I didn't grow up painting. I didn't even really start like doing tattoo style art until like a year ago. Before that, I still just drew with a pencil, and that was it. I wanted to think that I knew what color theory was and all of that stuff. But now that I'm painting, now it's opening up my head a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I try and practice everywhere else. And I always have this vision in my head of how things should look, but it's always, even a week later, it's evolved from, I would have done this tattoo a different way, knowing this of what I did in the middle. It's mentally abusing if you take it seriously. If you don't, then it's great.
Then
and
just
you're
grab a
called
needle
a
and have some
tattooer.
fun.
Yeah.
What motivates you when you don't feel like creating? I'm sure you got those days, right? Being an artist, you're just like, I don't got it in me today.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that motivation is not a thing that you can really survive on. So I'm a creature of habits, like anybody is. So every morning I get up, I read, I draw, regardless of whether I feel like it or not. It's a matter of, even on your worst days, we all have them. We all get down. We all have that crap. But even on your worst day, you still have to get up and you have to pay your bills. Mm-hmm. I'm not at a point where I can feel comfortable just not doing those things. So there's not a day that goes by that I don't do those things in one way, shape, or form for a certain amount. Whether that be, I'm not going to go and tattoo today because I don't have any clients, so I'm not going to work on any designs. I'm going to go and paint. Or whether that be, I'm going to try and make some new designs that people might want to buy to give them a little more idea of what's out there and what can be tattooed. Because 9 times out of 10, you have people coming in with a tattoo that's already been done, and they're like, I want to do something like this. And that's great.
And you're like, yeah.
But I have all these ideas in my head that are way cooler. Let's do something else.
That's what Chris is always telling me, because I would like to get a sleeve eventually, and I have all these ideas, and he's like, the best way to do it, Chrissy, is to go to the artist, tell them the basics of what you'd like, and just let them have fun.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you need to get a tattoo.
Find an artist who you like their style, and you trust their art. And go to them and literally, like, you don't even necessarily need to take pictures. Just go to them and say, hey, I want to do a sleeve with you, or whatever it is. I want to do this piece with you. I love your art style. These are the things that I want to incorporate. Do it in your style.
Yeah.
That right there is the perfect client. When people come in like that,
you want to do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do. Your tattoo ends up 10 times better and 10 times more original, because they're not taking that from anybody else. When somebody comes in with an idea of somebody else's tattoo and they show us this and they say, hey, like, I like this idea. Can you do something similar? You're like, yeah, but it's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the proof is right here, and it's probably been done 1,000 times.
But people aren't really as original and creative as you guys are. That's
the
gotta be
thing
a challenge.
is, so when you have clients first come to you, they think that they need to have more of a design aspect than the artist does.
Yeah.
But yet we're the artist.
Right.
So when they first start coming to you, they bring you like, I want to do this exact thing. And you're like, well, we can't do that. Let me change it a little bit. And then they start to trust you a little more. And so their next tattoo, they come in with kind of an idea and they're like, all right, I want you to run a little bit more with it. And then their next one, a little more. And so by the time you get to 4 or 5 tattoos on somebody, they trust you enough to just call you and say, hey, I was thinking about this. Let's do this theme. Run with it.
That's pretty cool.
See, that's how I told you to do it.
Yeah, I know. Chris, you're right. He's right
you'd
about
be surprised.
everything.
A lot of people don't know the process of tattoo. They'll go into a shop where are all the pictures on the wall.
and that's what I was going to say. It's like the biggest misconception as a person who's not tattooed.
Yeah.
Speaking with other people, like coming out of the Mormon church and talking to people who want to get tattoos. I think that's what everybody thinks. Like you have to have your tattoo designed.
Yeah.
You can't just go in and be like, help me do something cool.
Yeah. I've even had people say, as far as like, they've contacted me and said, well, how much do you charge an hour? Okay, my brother's sister's friend's going to draw this up for me and get the design already. And I'm like, what do you think I'm here for? Like, that's what I do, is design. And I tattoo that design because I'm going to have to change it anyway.
Right. So you're going to have to adapt it to a realistic thing.
But a lot of people come in with their exact thing that they want done. And 9 times out of 10, you have to change it. Like, you cannot just do that because tattoo art has to be different than regular art in a lot of aspects.
Let's talk about this Get Better Clothing. Is this your company or what?
This is mine and a friend of mine.
Do you want to talk about this? Can we talk about it for a minute?
I'm
Before we completely run out of time here.
No, we have all night.
We have all night.
The power off.
I like that. I like that.
brand.
So what? What is this? This is great.
So the clothing company is called Get Better Clothing. Kind of a little bit of a play on words, as far as we want people to have better clothing. But the big thing is the friend that I started it with, we're both very like positive mental attitude all the time, but you've always got to be moving forward. There's not any time in this life to sit back and be like, all right, like I'm good enough. Like I can hang out here. You can't do that in life. And it doesn't matter whether you're pushing in every aspect, but push your life, push it forward. You can always be a little bit better than you were yesterday, whether you remember to hold the door open for somebody else or whether you do a better job at your job. It doesn't matter what it is. You can be working on getting a little bit better.
Sure.
Whether it's getting smarter about the product you're selling, just anything.
So do you have a website that people can go to for this?
getbetterclothing.co.
Okay. So you sounded a little hesitant with that.
It's getbetterclothing.co because
I'll put that with the show notes for this at imsaltlake.com so people can go to this and
dude, these tank
connect.
tops are the bomb.
Yeah.
Like the actual quality of the tank top. I'll
put pictures. I mean, these are great. Clint brought some shirts in for Chrissy and myself. So we'll put. Yeah. I mean, where do you see this going? I mean, it's just kind of a fun project for you.
It's a little bit of a fun project. We want to more just kind of open people's heads up a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people right now are just kind of like going through the motions in life. I myself have come a long way from where I was, and it took me a long time to get here. To be a tattooer. Everybody tells me, oh, you're lucky. You're so lucky you get to do what you love. You haven't seen the last 10 years of my life because it was not luck. There was nothing lucky about it. I worked every single day. And Kennecott, I worked 12-hour days at Kennecott, and I would turn around and tattoo for 4 hours.
Wow.
That same day. And that doesn't leave much time for sleep when you account for driving.
And relationships, if you have.
Well, yeah, because Kennecott.
I guess you don't do that when you're working that hard.
I didn't at the time. Now that I've slowed down, I've got an amazing girlfriend in my life, but it was hard. Mm-hmm. Even friendships.
Yeah.
The only times my friends saw me was when they were coming to get tattooed, and it was because I'm at work or I'm at work. Those are your two options. You can either come work with me at Kennecott, which is kind of hard, or you can come and get tattooed. And it's not that I'm trying to take their money. It's that I'm concentrating on something, and I'm trying to build something bigger for myself and get myself to the point, and I'm still not there. People tell me I'm lucky. I'm not even close to where I want to be.
Where do you want to be? Or is that just such a...
I mean, that grows every single day.
Yeah.
I can't ever, because I'm not going to lie. 5 years ago, I wanted to be right here. I wanted to be tattooing every day with nothing else hanging over me, no other job, on this podcast.
You made it. You can quit now.
Well, this podcast has been around 5 years. You probably saw it, and you're like, man, one day I want to get on I Am Salt Lake.
Those things
lie here, just lie.
Yeah, I heard about this podcast. I didn't even know what podcasts were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But that grows every single day, and the day that doesn't grow, I'm done. I'm out on everything.
You got to constantly be changing, otherwise you're just stagnant.
Yeah.
And
it's true, and that's really probably how you lose motivation the quickest is being stagnant.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily set their goals high enough. They set their goals on, I want to pay the house payment and all of my bills this month. That's a good goal to have. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's a solid goal.
Please, at minimum, have that goal.
At the very, like, that should be your daily existence. That shouldn't be like your goal, unless you're extremely far in debt. And if you are, then make that your goal. Get it out. But why not go for something a little more in life? Why not try something more? Why not learn a new language this year? I just started doing that with my girlfriend.
What language?
I'm going to start learning Spanish.
But we were just talking about that.
We want to try to learn Spanish together. How are you guys doing that?
Duolingo.
Duolingo?
Yes. So it's an app on your phone.
Ooh.
One of my clients introduced me to this. Another great thing about tattooing is clients introduce you to the best things ever. 9 times out of 10, they have jobs that you relate to in some way that you can, like, oh, I know a construction
you can learn
guy.
Something or
and I need this done. Yeah, so you have connections everywhere. But on the other end, I have a client who's going to Mexico, and he made it a goal to learn Spanish before he goes. So he got an app called Duolingo on his phone. It's on both iPhone and Android. I hope they pay me for this ad. It's free. You can download it, but it reminds you every day to work on it. It goes through everything with you. You even have to speak into it. So it's knowing whether you're not picking up the word or whether you are. And you can do it everywhere from casual for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 20, 30 minutes a day.
Right on. Let's try that out, Chrissy.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then can we call each other up and we can all speak Spanish?
Well, that's what I was
like. Conference call.
Yeah. I said next year at this time, talking to my girlfriend, I said next year at this time, let's go to dinner and we'll just have a conversation totally in Spanish.
That's cool. I love that you guys are supportive of each other and are okay doing that together.
We're so competitive, it's not even funny.
Oh, well, that's kind of good, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's support. No, it's definitely support, but
competition works too.
We are the most competitive couple you've ever seen in your life. We do some pretty cool stuff together. We actually have a trophy that goes back and forth between us for whatever we challenged the other person to.
Yeah.
The other person currently holds it right now. I don't want to talk about it, but she beat me at bowling. But we're just very competitive, and it's one of those things, like, be competitive in life. We're not going to get a participation trophy for being in this relationship. We're going to get a real trophy because we beat the other person in a race.
Because we bought it, and now it's mine.
Yeah.
I like that, Chrissy. We should get each other trophies.
Don't get each other trophies. Get one trophy, and then fight about it.
Fight over it?
Yeah.
We can go to the DI and we can get a trophy. Is that what you did?
They're actually really hard to find. Just order one online.
Just order one.
Just find an obscure trophy and do it.
Let's talk about Salt Lake City. I got to talk about Salt Lake City always on the podcast. Like, if somebody was visiting the area, Salt Lake City, I know you're out towards Tooele.
Yeah.
But you're in Salt Lake a lot. But what would you tell people to check out or do?
I would say go to Tooele. No, I'm just kidding. Don't go to Tooele.
The beef jerky. They got great beef jerky out.
They do. Yeah, Thompson's Smokehouse. I actually take that to the guys at work all the time.
Oh, it's good beef jerky.
Yeah.
Have you had the beef jerky out Tooele?
I have not.
I'll bring you guys.
I've been to Tooele, but I didn't even know there was beef jerky.
When we do the tattoo podcast, we'll have some.
But anyway.
Salt Lake, to me, I'm very outdoorsy, so go to the mountains. That's always the first thing. And I have clients from out of state. First thing I tell them, go to the mountains. because you're not going to see them anywhere else. I mean, yes and no. You've got the same type of mountains in Colorado, and I've been all over the Rocky Mountains, but if you're from out of state, chances are you haven't seen mountains like that. So go to the mountains, go on a hike, go and breathe some clean air, because we don't have any of that, actually. So get out of the crap air and take it in.
What about favorite local eating spots? Any place?
It depends on what you want, man.
Yeah.
Because
What have you been enjoying lately?
Lately, I've been big on ramen, because there's a new ramen place around the corner from our shop.
What is it? Oh, I heard. Wait.
Yoko.
Yeah, that's right on 300 there.
Wait, don't they have gluten-free noodles?
I don't know, but it's where Sage's Cafe. There's a bar right
there. It's by Dick and Dixie's.
Dick and Dixie's. My mind was blank. Yes.
It is on.
It's like 300 South and 500
South
East.
and 500 East.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a newer place. It's only been month and a half.
But it's pretty good stuff,
amazing.
huh?
Yeah, super good stuff. But I'm just big in food.
Sure.
I like it.
Do you hit up Even Stevens a lot?
Yeah,
it's right
like
across
at
the street
least
from
once
you.
a week.
Yeah, her and I love Even Stevens.
Yeah, they're right across the street from us. So
we're kind of addicted.
Yeah,
a little bit.
They got good sandwiches there, and then let's see what else is around. You got the Crown Burger,
yeah,
right?
The original Crown Burger, not just any Crown Burger.
Do you think it's better at the original Crown Burger as opposed to other Crown Burgers? Huh.
And when we first moved to that spot, I ate there probably twice a week, and now I'm like, let's woe back on the burgers here for a little while.
Let's go have some broth for a minute.
Yeah.
Do you, while we kind of wrap things up here with the podcast, do you have like a motto or a piece of advice that you would like to leave with the listeners?
Yeah, it's right there on those shirts. It's called Get Better.
I like that.
I do too.
Anything else you want to ask him, Chrissy, before we let him go? I mean, we could talk all night, but that's why I want to bring. I want to do a part two.
I want to do a part two. What would you want engraved on your tombstone?
I don't know. Probably just a picture of me. That's it.
Giving the thumbs up.
No, just a picture of me mowing my lawn in my Speedo.
Perfect.
I love it. That's a perfect place to end it. Thank you so much. How can people find you? Like, do you have like a website or Facebook or what?
Facebook. It's just Clint McInnes.
Okay. So I could link it up with this podcast.
Yeah, it even linked to my personal page on there.
Okay.
That's kind of the easiest way to get a hold of me. Instagram is IamRadness, all one word.
Because hopefully everybody listening is going to come and get a tattoo from you now.
I hope so. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be really nice.
So give the address to Salt City Tattoo where you're at.
Salt City Tattoo is at 353 East, 200 South.
And can people just pop in, say hello?
Yeah. We actually prefer people to come in just to kind of get a feel. Okay. And I know that can be kind of intimidating, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Walking into a shop full of heavily tattooed guys.
Bearded guys.
Yeah. Look like they're super tough. We're actually not that tough, and I end each one of my tattoos with a hug. So it's not like you need to be intimidated. I would love for more people, I don't know, kind of wanted to stick their feet in the water. Just come in and say hi and talk to us for a minute. It is intimidating.
That's really solid advice. I went into a tattoo shop once and I just never went back because I was like, oh, they probably think I'm stupid and I never want to go again. And
we were all there once, Chrissy, with no tattoos.
Yeah.
See, and that's good for everybody to know.
It's been a minute for me, but
the funny thing is you have people that'll get like one tattoo and then they think they're like an old tattoo veteran. They're like, oh, you just come in here and you just do this and stop. Don't do it that way.
Actually, I want one thing I want to bring up, and you were talking about how people with one tattoo. I was in line at a grocery store once.
Yeah.
And I turn, I look over my shoulder, and I see this guy pulling up his arm to show me his tattoo on his arm. Yeah. It was like a Pac-Man or something. And it's funny because people think that they have one tattoo, they're all of a sudden your best friend. Because they see, oh, wow, this guy's got a lot of tattoos.
Kindred spirits now.
And it's like, well, okay, you're cool. I mean, that's
you're
cool tattoo.
You're a tattooed outlaw like me and my Pac-Man.
Oh, man, I've had a heck of a conversation. Thank you so much, Clint.
Thank you guys for having me on. I was very excited to do this.
You bet. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Many, many thanks again to Clint McInnes for coming on this episode of the podcast. I had a great time chatting with him.
Yeah, and we even got to talk about his fancy beard.
Absolutely. So head on over to our website, iamsaltlake.com/278 It's for episode 278. We're going to put all the links to get a hold of Clint, the address of the shop he works out of, and just all the links to connect with him, contact him, check out some of his tattoos. If you're in the market for a tattoo here in Salt Lake City, I think Clint might be your man.
I would, from just talking with him, and I'm sure you guys heard, I would say go to him if you haven't had a tattoo yet.
Yeah, he doesn't seem that intimidating. I'm going to be the first to admit, and I have quite a bit of tattoos, some tattoo artists can be very intimidating.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But he's very helpful, and he's very logical, and very kind.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. With 3 locations now, you have no reason to not always look your best. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. Their brand new 3rd location just barely opened up at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary, and they were recently just voted Best in State by City Weekly and KSL. Head on over to their website, jedsbarbershop.com, for more information. If you haven't had a chance to connect with us on Facebook yet, please do. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, hear any of your favorite episodes. We'd love to connect with you.
Or even ideas of who you'd like to hear on future episodes.
Absolutely. So head on over to iamsaltlake.com/Facebook, and that will forward you right to our Facebook page. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. You have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city. Support local.
And good night, Grammy.